Imagine for a moment that the story you know is not the whole story, that there are hidden truths, messages encoded in Jesus' words that have been ignored, misunderstood, or even deliberately hidden throughout the centuries. What if I told you that Jesus' true message wasn't just about faith, but about a deeper knowledge, a wisdom that reveals the secrets of the universe and of the human being itself? Today we will delve into the secret teachings of Jesus, those mentioned in apocryphal Gospels, Gnostic texts, and ancient mystical traditions. The most surprising thing is that when we understand these messages, our perception of reality changes completely. At the end of this journey, we will reveal the deepest teaching of all, a truth that can transform your life in ways you never imagined. Since ancient times, the figure of Jesus has been associated with love, compassion, and sacrifice, but behind his words lies a much broader knowledge, a message that goes beyond conventional doctrine. In various spiritual traditions, Jesus is not only seen as a moral teacher, but as an enlightened being, a knower of the great mysteries of the self and the cosmos. His teachings contain keys studied by philosophers, mystics, and seekers of truth throughout the centuries. To understand these hidden teachings, we first must ask why some texts about Jesus were excluded from the canonical Gospels. In the early centuries of Christianity, many writings circulated among Jesus' first followers, many of which contained ideas that challenged power structures and presented a worldview more aligned with self-knowledge and inner liberation. However, over time, certain power groups decided what should be accepted and what should be forgotten. One of the most striking documents in this regard is the Gospel of Thomas, a text containing sayings attributed to Jesus but with a philosophical and spiritual depth that differs from traditional Gospels. In this Gospel, Jesus speaks not just of faith but of self-discovery. One of its most revealing sayings is, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not have that within you, what you do not have within you will kill you." What does this really mean? Jesus is telling us that inside each of us is sacred knowledge, a divine spark that, if found and cultivated, will lead us to true freedom. But if we ignore this inner potential, if we let our life be governed only by external things, imposed beliefs, or fear, then we are condemning ourselves to a life of suffering and ignorance. This message resonates deeply with teachings from other esoteric traditions. In Hermetic philosophy it is said, "As above, so below, as within, so without," reminding us that the path to truth is not outside us, but inside us. Jesus taught his disciples that the kingdom of God is not a distant place in the sky, but a reality accessible here and now to those who seek with a sincere heart. Another fundamental aspect of Jesus' hidden teachings is his insistence on the transcendence of the ego. Throughout his life, Jesus spoke in parables, many aimed at dismantling the illusion of identity based on ego. In the Gospel of Luke, we find this powerful statement, "Whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life, for me, will find it." This is not simply an invitation to physical sacrifice as some have interpreted. It is a profound teaching about the need to transcend identification with the superficial self, with labels, possessions, and the illusions of this material world. Jesus tells us that only when we leave behind that false identity can we access our true self, the Christ consciousness that dwells in each of us. The Gnostics, a group of early Christians persecuted for their beliefs, understood this message well. For them, knowledge, gnosis, was the key to salvation. They believed Jesus did not come only to redeem humanity, but to awaken in each person the divine spark that connects them to the supreme source. According to Gnostic texts, Jesus taught his closest disciples in private knowledge that was not revealed to the general public because only those prepared spiritually could understand it. But if this knowledge was so powerful, why was it suppressed? The answer is simple. A human being who understands their true nature, who accesses inner knowledge cannot be controlled. Power structures, both religious and political, have always had an interest in keeping humanity within certain limits of thought. Jesus, with his message of spiritual freedom, represented a threat to these systems. Now I ask you, do you really believe Jesus' message is limited to what has traditionally been taught? Or is there something deeper, something hidden in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by those willing to seek the truth? In the next part of this journey, we will explore an even more astonishing mystery, the relationship between Jesus' teachings and the ancient schools of wisdom, from the Essenes to Eastern masters, because the truth he taught was not exclusive to one people, but a universal knowledge accessible to anyone who wishes to understand the true meaning of his message. Let me know in the comments what you think so far, and get ready, because what's coming may forever change the way you see Jesus and his mission on earth. To truly understand Jesus' hidden teachings, we must explore his connection to ancient wisdom traditions. Most people know him through conventional biblical accounts, but what is rarely mentioned is that Jesus did not emerge in a spiritual vacuum. His message had deep roots in ancient mystical currents such as the teachings of the Essenes, Egyptian knowledge, and Eastern wisdom. The Essenes, a community of mystics living in retreat near the Dead Sea, practiced a lifestyle based on purity, meditation, and self-knowledge. It is well known that John the Baptist, who prepared the way for Jesus, had strong ties with this group. The Essenes believed in spiritual enlightenment through discipline and connection with the inner divinity, an idea that resonates deeply with Jesus' words when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you." But Jesus' influence does not stop there. Some scholars have suggested that during his youth, Jesus may have traveled to distant lands, learning from other spiritual traditions. In India, there are ancient manuscripts speaking of a teacher known as Isa, believed by many to be Jesus. According to these texts, Isa spent years among Buddhist monks absorbing teachings about compassion, meditation, and the illusory nature of the material world. And here is where everything starts to fit together. Jesus did not just teach about love and faith. He also spoke of detachment from the material world and the importance of awakening inner consciousness. This idea is surprisingly similar to the teachings of the Buddha, who centuries earlier spoke about the illusion of ego and the need to transcend suffering through enlightenment. But there is more. In ancient Egypt, Hermetic wisdom taught that everything in the universe is mind, that the external reality is merely a reflection of our internal consciousness. Jesus expressed this same idea differently when he said, "Whatever you ask for, in prayer, believing, you will receive." When this is not mere blind faith, but a deep understanding that our mind and spirit have the power to manifest reality. Here we reach a crucial teaching, one interpreted in many ways but only understood by those who seek beyond the words. Jesus spoke in parables, many hiding deep truths that only those with eyes to see and ears to hear could grasp. Take, for example, the parable of the sower, where Jesus speaks of a man sowing seeds, some falling on fertile ground and bearing fruit, while others fall on rocky soil and cannot grow. On the surface, it seems a simple metaphor about faith, but if we look deeper, Jesus is talking about the power of consciousness. The seeds represent knowledge and the soil represents our mind. If our mind is closed, knowledge cannot take root. But if we open ourselves to truth, that knowledge will bloom and transform us. And what about the famous phrase, "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you." This is not just an invitation to prayer, but a code for the search for truth. Jesus tells us that knowledge will not be given passively. We must actively seek it with intention, with heart, and with faith in the power within.